Could Eddie Howe be the man to turn around this failing winger's career? Jadon Sancho at Newcastle? It's a debate. Let's talk about it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a rumour has it video where we're talking about players linked to the football club this coming transfer window. The window is shut, but it's technically not shut. The mini window's over. The big window's going to open up in 3 days as I'm recording this. And Newcastle United's search for new players continues to go on and on and on and on and on. And we still don't see anybody yet, but hopefully we will soon. So what we're talking about today, we're talking about a bad boy, a player who's been cast adrift, a player who many have given up upon. But apparently, if you believe the stories, now I will say take it with a huge pinch of salt given the source that it's actually in. It could be an England international, but a lad who's definitely lost his way. Is he going to come to Newcastle United? Are we interested? Who am I talking about? Well, you can probably tell already. It's this lad, Jadon Sancho. Now, once upon a time, Jadon Sancho was the it lad. He was going to be England's main man. He was starring for Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League and in the Bundesliga. He got a massive move to Manchester United. Everybody was hoping for really great things, and it's all turned to shit in the palm of his hand from that moment on, really. Now, part of it, most definitely, is Jadon Sancho's attitude and the way he is as a player. The other part of it, I think, is the toxicity that surrounds Manchester United, that just eats players up and spits them out. People can say, you know, he can't handle a badge and all that. But Manchester United is a dumpster fire, an absolute shit tip of a place to play football as a young player like Jadon Sancho. And it's been the worst move he's ever had in his career. But he was on loan at Chelsea last season, and he didn't do too bad. 31 Premier League appearances, three goals and 4 assists. He actually scored a goal in the 4-1 win over Real Betis to win Chelsea the Conference League as well. So they got silverware that season. But Chelsea have decided not to sign Jadon Sancho for 25 million, which really on paper, when you look at the kid, 25 years old, 23 caps, 3 goals and 7 assists, Champions League experience, quality player, quick, skillful, can go inside, can go outside, can score goals, can create goals. He got 70 goals and 75 assists and 282 appearances. He's only 25 years old. That's pretty good, for a winger. But Chelsea decided not to take up the option to sign him for 25 million quid, and they instead paid a 5 million quid fine to send him back to Manchester United. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So apparently, if you believe the stories in The Sun, cough, cough, I will say that again, The Sun, the only thing you should be talking about The Sun is this lovely sunny weekend. I hope you're somewhere nice, get a suntan. But apparently The Sun have linked Newcastle United with an interest in this player, as well as Spurs and as well as Aston Villa as well. Now, he kind of fits the profile of all 3 of those clubs, including us. But the big thing with Sancho for me is ability versus attitude. And that's what I'm going to get into right now. So looking at his ability first. Let's look at his ability first. Now, his stats up there, you see the red, the oranges, and the greens, or the red, the ambers, and the greens, so to speak. Mark keeps putting more colours in this. It's like a fucking B&Q paint chart these days. But, the kind of main attacking threats really for a winger, shots on target, shots, goals, not particularly great in terms of where he sits alongside wingers in the top 5 leagues. But you look at those other stats there, the greens, they're pretty decent for a winger. You've got pass completion at 90%, passes at 65, touches in the area 86, progressive carries. Again, I always say that we haven't got many players who can carry the ball. 87 percentile, carries in the area 91 percentile, successful take-ons 84th percentile, recoveries 88. Tackle's not so great, so he doesn't track back a lot and tackle, but this is why Eddie Howe may be the perfect manager for this kid. And I'll get into this in a minute. So what's the bad things about Jadon Sancho? The attitude, the persona, the Billy Big Bollocks kind of mentality, the 300 grand a week is a big problem. Now, Jadon Sancho is maybe being unfairly judged by a lot of people, right? And Jadon Sancho himself could take control of this narrative. Absolutely, right? He could sign for Newcastle United on half of those wages or less than half of those wages and show everybody what he's all about. Go and play for a brilliant manager in Eddie Howe who gets the best out of players. Come to Newcastle, knuckle down. We all had the same problem when Anthony Gordon came. Oh, he's an arsehole, he's this, he's that, he's going to be trouble. Look how good Anthony Gordon has been for Newcastle United. Now, Jadon Sancho plays on the left, but he's played loads on the right as well. He can play as a right winger. And I'm not against this move for 25 million quid. I actually think that's not a bad bit of business because I still think there's a player in there. And I don't think he's too far adrift. He's not like Dele Alli. No disrespect, I know Dele Alli's had his demons and all that kind of stuff. But Dele Alli was way beyond that point of kind of, salvation, I think, as a player, you know, when he went to Everton and stuff like that, and he went abroad. Whereas I don't think Jadon Sancho is quite yet. We've seen some flashes last season at Chelsea, that pace, that ability to turn players inside and out, the eye for goal, the passing. There's still something there in this kid. And it's World Cup year as well coming up, and he could just fancy his chances, come to Newcastle, knuckle down, play under Eddie Howe, improve as a player. You know, you've got Tino Livramento in this squad, you've got Lewis Hall, Anthony Gordon, you've got Dan Burn, they're all playing for England. You know, even Harvey Barnes might fancy a sniff at an England call-up potentially for the World Cup if he keeps playing as well as he did at the back end of last season. But Jadon Sancho may think, you know what, moving to Newcastle and getting game time might actually be something that's really, really good for me. And if this manager can make me a better player, then happy days. I think the player himself wanted to move back to Borussia Dortmund, but apparently they don't really want him back. They've signed Joe Bellingham, which I'm not really sure about. This isn't because he played for Sunderland. Don't give me shit in the comments. I just think the kid is nowhere near as good of a player as his brother, and maybe the Dortmund move may be a bit sticky for Joe Bellingham. But I hope it doesn't. Hope it goes well for the kid. But Jadon Sancho is not wanted at Borussia Dortmund. He's clearly not wanted at Chelsea. He's definitely not wanted at Manchester United. So you're looking at Aston Villa, Spurs, and Newcastle United. Now, Thomas Frank has just taken over as the Spurs manager. He looks like he's going after Brian Mbeumo, which I would absolutely love. Sorry, Brian Mbeumo, for all those spell checkers in the comments. I'd love Thomas Frank to steal Mbeumo from Manchester United. It'd be fucking incredible. I'm not sure that it's going to happen. Obviously, Aston Villa are in the shit in terms of PSR and wages. I don't even know if they can even afford Sancho, even on half of that salary. So Newcastle United could very well be in a good position to sign this kid, but it all depends on whether Eddie Howe thinks is a player there that can add something to the squad. We always talk about the famous no dickhead policy. Maybe Jadon Sancho will fail the no dickhead policy. I don't want to judge the lad too unfairly, but there is quality there. But for me, it is ability versus attitude. Now, people say the same thing about Jack Grealish, but Jack Grealish isn't as big of a troublemaker potentially as Jadon Sancho is. A pisshead maybe, and he loves the drink, and that's maybe a big issue with Newcastle. But I don't think you get away with that under Eddie Howe. But he's 29 years old. You know, Sancho's got 4 years on him. He can play on the right-hand side where Grealish doesn't play, you know, and he can offer you that extra pace to the side. And him and Jacob Murphy could be a really good double act to play on that right-hand side. But there's other players being linked. Obviously, Elanga is being linked to us numerous times. Apparently, representatives up in Newcastle, if you believe all the checking the flight nonsense the other day. You know, there's still players in the background like Tyler Dibling that Newcastle United had a real interest in as well. Maybe a bid might be reignited for him. But for Tyler Dibling, you're going to pay double the bubble you're going to pay for Jadon Sancho. And yes, the kid may have a better attitude. He could be an even better player than Jadon Sancho is at 25, but you just don't know. So is it a gamble for Newcastle United to get the kid? Of course it is. He could be an absolute dick, but maybe, just maybe, it could turn out to be an unbelievable piece of business. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think about the potential of signing Jadon Sancho. Is a flat out no to you? Maybe look beyond the recent issues and troubles and just look at the quality of the player that still sits within, and how much do you back Eddie Howe to get a player like that out of his shell and back to where he needs to be? But or do you want him nowhere near the club? He's rotten to the core, and he's going to, upset the apple cart and imbalance the team morale and all that stuff. Want to hear either side of the comments? Drop it in, guys. Let us know what you think. Remember to like and subscribe. Keep it evermore. We'll be back some more transfer videos soon. Have a belting day. Enjoy the sunshine. Get the old sun cream on. Have a beer in the beer garden, and we'll see you later. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.